audience can walk around. Everything is in theme.
It's time to play some Dota.
Yes,
That's what he's saying.
I think also.
There you go.
That's what we got you here for, Liz. You can help with the translations a bit.
I'm helping.
Okay.
I'm doing something.
So I know that this is not his real mustache.
Oh.
And he kind of wanted to like have a little bit of a homage to Dr. Disrespect.
Is that Ukrainian Dr. Disrespect?
I mean, I know that was his request because they have a brilliant team around, like in terms of outfits and makeup and all that. And his request, like, I just really want to look a little bit like Dr. Disrespect. So they got him a mustache. They got him a sunglasses.
Welcome on stage, Team GAMBIT Esports.
All right, it's time for GAMBIT to take the stage. FNG, they're taking the lead, and of course, we all know GAMBIT. GAMBIT has done so well in the previous season of DPC, being one game away from qualifying for basically everything, including TI. But then falling short one step of the way every time as well. This season, he's gathered himself a group of people, a different group of people. So he's got fresh faces, even with FN being the freshest face, with GPK recently being replaced. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. I can't wait to see what they're doing this season, though. I feel like they have got the potential.
Definitely any team that plays under FNG does well.
And they will face up against the even fresher squad. GAMBIT has been around since September, but Bait's like a month old. And it's not just the 5 players that have been a month old, but also this whole organization. Bait, Dendy's organization, Dendy stepping up as a captain.
It was a matter of time before he did this, right? Ever since he got benched in Navi or left it, we knew this was coming. Like
we knew something was coming.
He's always talked about how he wanted to have his own team and really kind of be a leader in many ways. Like, he's not necessarily going to be the guy drafting and calling all the shots in games, but he wants to be kind of the figurehead of this team, and building his own org was a natural part of that.
Lizard, we need your translations. If you can get anything. I am happy to hear.
He asked him, like, how are you doing with your Biglitsa, but I do not know that word, so it could be good, could be bad. In a few days, they will release a statement and everything will be sorted out about what I didn't catch, but probably GPK,
yeah. Both GAMBIT and GPK victims of the a tournament in Kiev, I could translate that point.
Ну, в принципе, то есть, я не знаю, ты создал организацию с нуля и сейчас будешь проходить все этапы формирования.
So you made an organization right now, and you're gonna be leading it, commanding it.
Сейчас, на сегодняшний день, ты испытываешь вот с чем? Что сложнее всего тебе дается?
What is harder for you today? But I didn't catch the rest of it.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I know your Ukrainian is a little rusty. We give you like 3 extra days before we'll send you on the stage to interview yourself.
It was just about hearing it all, not necessarily translating it.
I am super excited to see these two teams play, and I do feel like before we head into this game, let's just quickly touch upon the CIS drama. That's the only drama we have. We gotta take what we get. But I mean, the quote-unquote drama is actually super important for these two teams, because they basically were forced to change their roster. And for Bait, they had to change it right before they went into open qualifiers of the major. They were planning on playing with Kuman, and Kuman, right before open qualifiers, got snatched by Virtus Pro because they last minute needed a carry. We'll get to that as well. What kind of impact do you feel like it has been for Bait? Like, how do you feel the difference? Like, what different result would they have had if they could have played with Kuman? How? Because they practiced for a month before that with Kuman.
I mean, to be brutally honest, I don't think it changed things for BA. Obviously, the final roster maybe is slightly... They obviously Kuman was their first choice and they feel like it's maybe slightly weaker, but to me they're not a team that we're going to make it to the major or minor when they're newly formed. You know, they're still looking to find their groove. I think it's had a bigger impact on GAMBIT because GPK was looking like this next big superstar mid player. GAMBIT suddenly no longer looked like that consistent tier 2 team. They remind me a lot of like team like Chaos in North America, where it's like, you know, they qualify for these events, but they're never really doing top 6 performances. Finally with GPK, they was like, man, GAMBIT are actually really good. They're winning like tournaments now. They feel like they can contest against teams like Secret. And then he's gone. So I think GAMBIT took a big hit from all this.
Yeah, I completely agree with Parker, with Gods. GPK is that young star in the CIS. He's the fresh blood. He's the one that not necessarily you're building the team around. It's obviously built around FNG. But if you need a carry that's going to be playmaking carry, you get it so that GPK can be that late game hard player.
So I have it on good authority that it was Virtus Pro that approached GPK. Is like, hey, you want to play with us? I think he would have switched to carry role, and then no one would still be mid. And he's like, playing with no one in solo? I'm down. Sign me up, you know? I'm saying yes. And then
the salary is 3-4 times bigger as well. It's very hard to decline.
That's all good and fun. And then he kind of forgot about this tiny detail. It's called a contract. And, you know, he's stuck with it.
What's that, Shiva? I never heard of it.
I know. I don't think he realized that was a thing either. It was, it's super unfortunate because he is this young, promising player that has all this potential. And he's literally said, like, I want to play with Virtus Pro. And his team's like, well, if Virtus Pro doesn't want to buy you out, you know, you're kind of stuck. And then you're benched. Now he's just not playing at all.
The thing about CIS is, like, I've been listening to a lot of different managers talking about the whole drama and everything. And usually, if a team wants to buy a player out, they don't really buy him for the buyout clause, right?
No.
For the full amount. They kind of settle the deal a little bit.
They negotiate a little bit.
Yeah, they lower it. Perhaps they give some player to them, like when it happened between Lil and Roger, right? The problem is when you're too aggressive and something like this happens, when you're just like, I want to leave, that's it. Then the organization can get a little bit salty, and then you're just back.
Well, it's not just that. It's also, like, it's a competitive environment. You're literally, quote-unquote, giving/selling your best player to your biggest competitor, Virtus Pro.
Yeah.
Right before the qualifiers for a major.
Yeah.
Like, theoretically, that could have... I mean, I guess GAMBIT didn't end up qualifying for the major. VP did get that slot, but potentially GAMBIT could have taken the slot over VP by not selling them or letting GPK go play for them. So it's obviously a lot of strategy and tactics involved.
A year ago, if you give GPK to Virtus Pro, it doesn't matter because they're on a different level. They're on a different league. They're playing to win majors. You're playing to qualify for a minor. So it's different. Right now, they are competitors, like you just said. But this has been going on forever in CIS. If you remember Empire and Navi, like Navi is so salty right now about Zayats, and 2-3 years ago,
It was Navi
doing
every
the same
Empire,
thing.
Oh, I remember Empire being called the Navi training ground
Exactly,
for a while.
There are some teams that have that pull that if there's a roster slot, any player in the world wants to go and play for them. I think, I mean, obviously with CIS, it's VP. In the West, you've got Team Secret and now Team OG, you know. When OG had the roster openings because they had players retiring, I don't think it took much convincing to get the likes of Sumel and Mid1 to join them. Those guys are like, play for a 2-time TI win, sign me up.
Yep.
They got the secret recipe, you know. We'll have some of that, please. Yeah, I don't blame them at all. Let's talk a little bit about the Dota that's being played yesterday. I remember, Lizard, we opened the show yesterday. We talked a lot about saves and how we were how I was expecting like Oracle banned all the time, and that first game did have tons of saves, and then no other game that I commentated yesterday kind of had any of that. Like what happened there?
If you remember, even in the second game of our series, they forgot about the saves. They were like, listen, we're in Kiev, this is CIS Dotes, screw these saves, let's just go all in, davai. And I liked the Dotes yesterday. We have seen a couple of Void victories, like some teams did really well with him, some not as much. We have seen Nigma do well with Medusa, but pretty much with nothing else.
Nothing else,
It's definitely an interesting patch. I think Void Spirit and Snapfire, just these two heroes being back being in the competitive scene made a little shift in the drafting stage.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a few new things to think about, and especially both these heroes seem very strong right now, despite maybe not having the best win rate. Snapfire doing particularly poorly at this tournament. There's still the hero just looks good and does a lot. And I don't think you can read too much into like a support hero having a bad win rate. You got to put the right pieces around it to, let it shine.
Yeah, you got to have all the setups of the kisses, because that's kind of why you pick Snapfire, right? But we do see Snapfire still first phase ban/pick material, and the same thing goes for things like a troll. Which every time I talk about troll, Lacoste yesterday, I don't really like troll, and a lot of people are like, troll, it just doesn't feel that good, but apparently teams think it feels good because we see him a lot.
I think one of the reasons why we see a couple of these heroes come back into the meta like Jug and Troll is because of the Battle Fury changes as well. It's a little bit of a better item, and because of that, perhaps people think that Troll can be good again. However, I have to share my sentiment with Lacoste. I don't think that the hero is really that great. We actually watched Troll.
First pick material for almost every team.
It's a strong laning here. I think that's where it feels safe, and they're also, looking at what OG did.
Yeah.
OG had a pretty smooth run through the qualifiers. Obviously, they're the TI winning team. They were playing Troll. They had Topson play at mid. They were doing it safe lane. So I think teams see that and they're like, oh, OG thinks Troll's good. That means Troll's good. So maybe there's some follow the leader kind of syndrome going on.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, then if we're the leader being Team Secret in this tournament for sure, they Monkey King first phase. For Matuma Man almost every single game. So why don't we see more of him on other teams?
I think we have seen Monkey King first phased by Secret since the major.
Yes.
They have just been doing it because they
Which
believe.
Major? Like 3 majors ago?
Yeah, 3 majors.
4 majors ago?
Since Matumba Man is there, pretty much.
Even
Yeah.
mid one used to play at mid. They used the first phase of him. They love the hero.
They play really well around it, and also Matu can fit any role with that Monkey King.
Yeah.
Like if Monkey King needs to be the late game carry, he fits that role. If he needs to be creating space, he fits that role as well, like we saw yesterday. So that's one of the reasons why they pick it. It's not an easy thing to replicate, though.
It is not. You gotta have the player that is super comfortable with it. So let's talk about the matchups that we have here for these two squads. I feel like with GPK not in Gambit at the moment, the star player for me is gonna be Dream, that we're gonna keep our eyes on, and he is up against the player that wasn't initially supposed to be on bait, a PO65. How do we feel those two players compare to each other? Is there like a big gap? How big is the gap? Because there is a gap.
Yeah, I mean, to me, PO65 is like an unknown. Like, I'd never heard the guy's name before this team was announced, to be honest. Like, this team got announced, I'm literally like, who is it? I'm like going on Dota buff, like trying to see if he's on what his past teams were.
Gentleman. He was the former carry of Forze. And we did see Forze in the qualifiers. They did okay-ish. I don't think they qualified for anything, but they came close. But I personally, that's only because I looked it up after thinking, oh, who is this player? Because he never really, even though he was on teams that people have seen, he never really made that name for himself.
He's young. He's been around the tier 2, tier 3 scene, let's say more, in the CIS in EU for a while now. He's been top of the leaderboards as well, like top 50. So he's definitely good. Is he ready to be in a competitive scene right now in a LAN such as this one? I'm not so sure. I think Dream might be a bit better.
All right, well, we're gonna find out what's gonna happen with this first game. As we are in the draft for game 1. It is a best of 1, so there's only game 1. But we are in the draft. It's a seeding match. So the winner of this match will be counted as second in their group, and the loser will be counted as third in the group. So in terms of bans, I'm actually super surprised. Actually, no, I am not. This is the only team that you would first phase ban Mars with.
They played offlane, but most importantly, they
played
mid.
mid. Yeah.
If you remember, Dandy owns Cinderan on mid.
I must say,
Dandy loves it here. I mean, he also played some great puck games. They had the series against Secret yesterday was not that one-sided. Like, yeah, Secret won pretty convincingly, were better, but it looked competitive, especially that game too. And I think Dandy's puck is a big reason why Bait looks so good.
They also played it on 4. They played that puck on 4. I believe it was
in one
King
of the
Gar,
games. Okay.
right? Yeah. So they
first pick, Nyx Assassin.
Nyx has been a first ban in a lot of these games. It just seems to be re-emerging a bit. I don't feel like this hero exceeds and does anything amazingly well. It kind of blocks a lot of those popular int mids and stuff. The mana burn is really good, prevents heroes like Medusa coming into play. So it's just this annoying hero that makes you not want to play a bunch of heroes against it.
One of the big things about this Nyx as well is the new build that they go for with the Meteor Hammer. You grab that Meteor Hammer, you take the talent for the extended duration of your stun, and you can always set up out of Vendetta stun, Meteor Hammer, the hero is just locked in for 5 seconds. So it's also one of the reasons, but like you just said, most importantly, your ODs, your Lashraks are finding themselves in a lot of problems if they're matched up against Nyx.
All the in-heroes, and then even all the heroes that have a way to proc Carapace, it's annoying to play against. So like we saw a game with like a Spectre, you go Radiance, and suddenly there's this free Carapace Impale setup that can be really pesky to play into.
Actually, one hero that was always picked when Nyx started being picked was Batrider. And Batrider is already banned, but Nyx is picked up. So there is this strange situation in a meta in which there's a hero that's picked specifically because of some heroes, but then those heroes are banned, but teams just get too comfortable with that hero and they continue picking it. It doesn't have to be too great.
It's whatever feels good, right?
Yeah.
For the players. What do you think about the opening of Rubik Pango?
I think it's more flexible, definitely. I mean, not more flexible than Nyx, but overall, it's a very flexible opening.
We did see FN play Pango mid yesterday, so I think that is always one to keep an eye out for.
Yeah, when you're picking cores in the first stage, I always like when they can go multiple roles.
Yeah.
Like you have the option to play it mid, you can put it off lane, but if it looks like you're going to get destroyed in lane, off lane, yeah.
This pick with Enchantress being picked in the first stage is also really good, as you can't really know if she's offlane, if she's position 5, and because of that you have to be careful on Gambit. You can't just pick any carry, as you just might get crushed in the laning stage.
Eng to me kind of feels like this new and improved like Skywrath Mage in lane, where you just go there, you throw this nuke, your first spell, your impetus. It kind of reminds me of the Skywrath spamming this Arcane Bolt, and it just does so much damage. It just bullies heroes out of the lane, but then you also scale really well. With your ability to go late game with the impetus damage as well, so very annoying to play against.
PL is a hero that's overall picked very often right now, and I pretty much think that it's one of the strongest carries in the meta. However, he's also a hero that's really strong versus Ench at any given point. In the laning stage, you can't really harass him. He can gap close super easily, and also later on, he does have enough attack speed to deal with Ench. So maybe this might be telling us that Ench is going to be there offlane, but knowing LeBron on bait, I think it should be him playing it.
Is there any heroes that you guys feel like is missing right now, like in terms of opening bans and opening picks? Any surprises that you're not?
Maybe Snapfire. I feel like that hero.
Yeah, we just talked about. Yeah.
That hero just does a lot. Like
Void Spirit as well, just completely ignored, not picked, not banned.
I've been a little disappointed by Void Spirit. I feel like the laning stage can be punished by, and you do have some bad matchups. Like we saw Weeha really struggle mid against an SF. I'm not as sold on the hero, like as being like first pick worthy, but to me, Snapfire is just like this support that's always seems good because you have such a good laning stage and you have a huge team fight spell.
I feel the same. I wasn't sold on the hero until I started playing versus players that really played well.
On the
Void
Snapfire?
Spirit. Yeah,
Oh, Void
on
Spirit.
Void
Oh, yeah.
Spirit. Yeah, and suddenly you're just disappearing.
Yeah.
If they get that critical timing on Crystallis and Medallion, they just deal so much damage early on and are so difficult to catch. AA ban. Could this be a Huskar or something similar?
Oh, yeah, because right now I mean, they have the Ench heal, but that's normally not reason by itself to ban an AA.
Yeah, it could be because Ench might be core. It could be a Huskar pick in the second stage, and it could be a Morphling pick as well for them.
I'm sure Gamba wondering what are they planning on picking with this AA ban, but they're just going to ban a Void now. A carry we've seen a bit of, but also hasn't necessarily been winning a lot of games. Has looked a bit rough at times, particularly that long 160-second Chronosphere cooldown. Makes it very important you pick and choose your fights as far as when you want to use it.
It's very interesting that they ban it out this early on. It's one of those heroes that can deal with Pango in the laning stage. If he gets 2 raid bans or just power threads, gloves of haste, 1 extra level and Pango is just done. In that laning stage, only thing he can do is go behind the tower and creep skip. So perhaps that's one of the reasons, if the Pango is offlane.
You know what is a great thing against Pango? Clumsiness. I always am worried when I see a Pango picked up that you're just countered by something that can randomly drop for your enemies.
This hero right now, the Witch Doctor, is picked mostly because of Enchantress. That ward does not care about Untouchable, and if you cask her, you can just kill her off super easily. Also, the cask versus the creeps works well.
It seems like one of these supports that's maybe just being undervalued too. Every time I saw it in the qualifiers, I was like, wow, Maledict does a hell of a lot of damage. This hero with a couple items, Death Ward, really good in team fights. It just seems almost forgotten by some of these 5 positions because they've been so used to playing the standard 5s that are more meta, if anything.
Really great against Enchantress as well. Doesn't care about Untouchable at all.
Yep.
Of course, the Death Ward. So, yeah, team fight-wise, Gambit is looking pretty solid so far. Mostly single target for Bait. Obviously, there are only 2 picks in, so a lot still possible. But we're going to assume that those 2 are their 4 and their 5, right? For Bait, the first 2?
I think after the Witch Doctor pick, it's safe to assume that the Enchantress will be 5.
Yeah. Good enough reason to move her to that position. All right, well, let's see if what Ghost Take, Dendi, and Pio are going to play then after King or LeBron's hero are secured.
Yeah, wondering where they want to go with their cores here. Leshrac, okay.
Lesh.
I was thinking who's good with Nyx, because often you don't want to get those like tanky melee offlaners.
That's a Ricky carry right there, I think. Yeah, we have seen...
That's some fun stuff.
We have seen some Ricky played by different players, different teams, different builds. Some would go Battle Fury and go super late game. Some would go Diffusal, fight early on. In any case, I think Ricky right now is in a good spot. This hero is coming to our pubs. If he's not there already.
I was going to say, I think he's in a lot of pubs already.
Yeah, the carry Ricky, at least in the NA pubs, has become quite a go-to pick, I think, for a lot of players. It just seems good because with all the base HP regen, your laning stage is also pretty solid. You've got Tricks of the Trade early on as an escape spell, so you just don't lose most of your lanes. Like, you can at least trade evenly.
All right, so we got last pick going the way of Gambit, so they'll probably pick FN's hero last after they see what Bait is planning with their mid. I think that we just figured out what they're planning with their mid.
They pick this TA. They will cover it with the last ban if they're thinking that Pango isn't mid. Overall, TA doesn't lose too many matchups at the moment. We have seen her just crush versus... let's see. If they pick Huskar or Viper, that's pretty much what should be good versus her, right? But anything else is not really that great.
Yeah, I don't feel like those are heroes that they want to be playing with Ricky Pango cores either. Thinking Husker plus Ricky, I just don't feel like those heroes synergize well. They don't hit very different timings in the game, so...
So how does a Pango do against TA? Like, do you feel like they'll want to put FN on that, or will they still pick FN as a hero?
Pango can mid with like the disarm against the TA and stuff.
I don't think that's a great lane for Pango. Yeah, you can secure the range creep, right? But overall, TA should take over that lane super easily.
No, that means it's going to be Shaklo on the Pango, and Shaklo will be up against what is most likely position 5 Enchantress, and that's not a really nice place for Pango to be either. If you're like, doesn't matter really which core, but Enchantress is going to be in a really annoying position 5.
We did see Kingar play that Lash yesterday, though, so that's also an option for them. They could put that Lash on 4, still an Enchantress could be offlane, but that puts Nyx in this 5 position, which isn't great.
The Nyx Leshrac lane, I feel like we've seen teams do quite a bit. You've just got the Duo Suns, that easy setup for the Leshrac, and then a lot of kill potential there as well.
Well, Gambit ban out the Timbersaw. Is that a Pio hero? Like, I thought Pio was more like of the traditional carries. Meta carries, rather.
I guess theoretically they could do safe lane Lesh. Maybe Pio plays that. I think Lesh is one of those heroes that a lot of safe laners just have in their repertoire. So he could play the Lesh and then you do the Timbersaw off lane.
They covered the TA right now with the Huskar ban.
Yep.
Just to make sure. Maybe Huskar isn't great with Pango and Ricky, like God said earlier, but still it's a Huskar, and he can take over a game super easily if he has a good laning stage.
All right, final pick time. Whose hero is it going to be? Pio or
Probably
Ghost?
Pio.
I'd say
see it likely being a safe lane Lesh.
I'd say it's their carry as well. Let's see what they go for. They're playing versus a Ricky, and it's kind of a hero that you don't really know how to counter him super easily at the moment, like with what carry does. Oh, Abaddon. So it could be Lash safe lane, Abaddon off lane.
It could be a bad
Be Abaddon carry too, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it good old Beast Coast with all their interesting safe lane carries? They've done K1 Hector playing Abaddon safe lane.
Shield, does it remove Maledict?
No.
You can't remove
You can't remove it anymore, right?
Remove the Pengo disarm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think the main idea behind this Abaddon is you have a core Lash and Abaddon, and when TA is farming that Desolator Blink, you can pretty much just go forward with the Lash, shield him up, and take objectives. It's a really, really strong mid-game lineup to protect that TA until she gets all she needs.
Do you like it?
I like it. I like their draft a lot. I think it's very solid. It isn't missing way too many things. They have catch, they have push. Their lanes look solid as well. It's all about how they actually lane. And okay, Gambit finalized their draft with a Kunkka.
Pretty standard mid.
Something that GPK played.
Yeah, I see this. I'm like, oh, GPK Kunkka. Oh, wait, no.
Oh, wait.
But, I mean, it's a good pick. It gives them some team fight out of one of their cores, because Ricky, to me, is just, yeah, he's like this kind of single targety carry that's going to look to isolate the supports. You need something that can kind of frontline and start the fight off, and Kunkka provides that for this lineup.
So what is important in this game? I was about to, like, it's a best of one. What kind of timings or items or maybe rotations should we look towards for these teams? What is going to be key to their victory?
From bait, I already pretty much called it. They need to start rotating early on to protect the TA and her farm. But they have to be very, very careful about how they do it, because this last pick from Gambit can catch them off guard. You have that X marks the spot always, and if you push and you retreat one by one of you will fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like Bait are going to be the ones setting the tempo, and then Gambit have to respond, and they have the better team fight. So they're going to be looking to defend their towers, because they start losing towers, losing map control. That's where Bait's going to be able to take easy Roches, get that Aegis on TA, and then they win the game from there. So Gambit have to be proactive and take good fights.
All right, well, let's find out what's going to happen here in this best of one. We get Gambit and Bait. Let's see it with Capitalist and Lacoste.
One Lacoste between Gambit and Bait. What do you think?
Oh, I think Bait's lineup looks way better. The last pick, Abaddon. I'm not a big fan of the hero in general. He has a lot of bad matchups, but in this one, he's gonna delay the. There's no real burst damage until they get the items on Gambit's side, and. With Lash, with TA, you can easily snowball, transition that into Roche, and this lineup can easily just pop off.
It definitely feels like a much more traditional lineup. Meanwhile, you have on Gambit's side, they're trying to show off a little bit. They're bringing back that Ricky carry that people keep on trying. And I'm not sure how you feel about it. It was obviously a little bit unsuccessful at the previous major. We had a little bit in the group stage, didn't do so well. Ever since then, though, I just see more and more of it in my pubs.
Yeah, it's just been all over the place. Feels like his laning stage got way better because of the Blink Strike, and he can deal more damage before he gets level 6. And I've seen a lot of people just building Diffusal Blade so they can fight early on and then go for Battle Fury. A lot of the times you're playing against this super-duper hero called Phantom Lancer, so you want to have a built-in cleave, and it also increases your farm ability. I'm fine with that kind of a build, but I'm not a big fan of Battle Fury first on Ricky. No, no, no.
Yeah. Is there anybody that you've seen doing that, Lacoste?
Yeah, did
Any
not
names you want to name?
For minor or major.
Okay,
He's also a former panelist. Shout out to our boy Black.
Maybe the Battle Fury first build is in the play, but we'll have to see what our Ricky does for Gambit, because it is a pretty good Diffusal Blade build for this game, right? It's matched. I mean, it's Diffusal Blade. It's a Diffusal Blade meta after all, but you're matched up against heroes like Abaddon, for example, which are very critical to be able to keep your mana intact in order to play out those team fights.
Yeah, Abaddon wants to be a frontliner. He really suffers against the mana burn heroes Medusa. Most of the time against Phantom Lancer, you just send illusions to him. He can't do anything without mana. It's really hard to itemize against mana burn in general.
Yeah, and then we've got our, safe lane Leshrac as well for Bait, and then just a mid-TA. It seems like they've got this nice combination of team fight, take towers, create enough space to be able to take a Roshan for a TA, and then bada bing, bada boom, do that 2 times in a row, you're going high ground, nice and easy. What do Gambit need to do in order to take this game against Bait?
Well, definitely Kunkka needs to make moves. This is going to be an off-lane Pango, yeah, Kunkka's on the mid lane. For now, Riki needs to have a good laning stage, and you and me had a little chat about Witch Doctor before the game started. It was not on the stream. I don't think this hero does anything better than any other like strong position 5 heroes. Like if you compare him to Lich, if you compare him to Snapfire, let's say, who's one of the most popular heroes right now, and though win rate so far in this tournament has not been great for Snappy.
Yeah, he's kind of looked at as what we kind of agreed on is it would be a better support if this Enchantress was a core.
Yeah, for sure.
If it was a 3-position Enchantress, then great. You've got a support that counters a core, fantastic. But as just an Ench counter, and she being a 4-position, played by LeBron, we feel a little bit like it's going to be lackluster. But we'll have to see what happens as FN is already going to be losing his courier.
Easy 30 gold for his team. Let's see if he can get a revenge. Not really.
No, nothing. FN could do the same. So our safe lane matchup is going to be Dream and FNG, the Witch Doctor, plus Riki against Abaddon, Enchantress. Say one thing about Enchantress, laning phase, incredibly strong, and Abaddon doesn't really have a whole lot to fear for laning phase anyway, right?
Yeah,
he was very popular in previous metas for that reason.
They might want to skill heal in this lane instead of Maledict, even though having 1 point in Maledict will increase your kill potential, but there's going to be a ton of harassment from the position 5 Enchantress, and Abaddon is like self-sustainable. Even if you Ench decides to leave, maybe try to make a rotation on the mid lane, I don't think you can get a kill.
Speaking of self-sustain, that is something that a big part of the reason that Riki's safe lane has been so big, right, is his incredible amount of starting regen, and certainly going to be put to the test. I think he starts off with like 6 or 7 regen to start.
Now he's new Mixed Assassin.
Yeah, but that's certainly going to be put to the test by this very harassment-heavy lane. Meanwhile, at top lane, Telekinesis over to the other side. Shachlo blocking him in a little bit, but Pio will back up. He's got a Nyx Assassin to be able to help him out.
Runes, no one is controlling them far. Haste Rune on the bottom lane.
Looks like LeBron is going to make a break for it here. And may just take it away from Denny since he doesn't need it. But 13-3, our Kunkka doing a very good job despite his courier being sniped away. He is still winning that CS battle. Top lane should be pretty free farm for the Pango. Leshrac isn't really much of a threat to you.
You know, you're a Pango spammer, right?
Oh, yes. I love playing Pango.
Talking about spammers, we checked Theo's Dota buff before the game, and guess what? He has 600 games on Slark. Yikes.
Disgusting. Granted, that was before 2018. He pretty much has not played on that account for pubs since 2018. But yeah, that's apparently how he got his competitive career started, is him just playing a bunch of Slark games in pubs. King Ark gonna be in trouble here. Turns around, fakes the impale. May go for now as he lands it onto Shachlo. Chain the stun with the Diabolic Edict doing so much damage. Shachlo's in serious trouble. He's just gonna be chased down by Pio. That's gonna be your first blood for Bait.
Yeah, if you use Swashbuckle that aggressive, like it's a really long cooldown, level 1, so you need to be careful. So there's gonna be another follow-up.
They're gonna be getting both
2-0.
Vampire, he'll live a little bit longer with the stick, but there's no way that he'd be able to juke the two of them, so. Yeah, as you said, those first 2 levels of Swashbuckle, you gotta be really confident if you're ever going to be using it aggressively, especially against a chain stun like that.
That seems like we had a kill on the bottom lane. Abaddon.
That's a little surprising to me.
Oof.
I wonder if our Witch Doctor ended up going the Maledict build, because I imagine that's the only way they actually get a kill on the Abaddon in the first place, but...
There's no way to dispel it. Oh, good X mark.
It's going to be pulled back into the torrent with the Maledict on top of the cask, and the refraction just been burned through. The tower shots come in, and FNG collects another kill for Gambit. Bottom lane, though, Dream in some trouble and doesn't have the creep wave here to be able to jump to. He's going to be silenced again right as the creep wave shows up to the tower, but it's too late. A third kill now for B8, also known as Bait. We're going to watch back that ghost stick kill. We're calling him Bait, by the way, because apparently we talked to our main man Moose, and that's kind of what they want their name to be. It's open. You can call them B8, but it's kind of meant to be Bait.
I assume they want to be baiting a lot this game.
Yeah, with the potential for an abandoned turnaround.
Yeah.
5-minute bounty runes coming up, and King R's not going to try for the 2. So it looks like they're just going to be split 2 for 2, nice and easy.
Kanka is level 6, while TA is only level 5, so if they make one more rotation on a mid lane, it's kind of guaranteed kill.
And certainly the most important hero, would you say, for Bait anyway? The TA.
Yeah, every single time you kill a TA, it's the same feeling. All right, this was interesting.
A farming boat? True. Oh, okay. Well, shots though.
Do you think Kanka said that was a fail boat after this one?
Yeah. It's for a farming boat, it must be a fishing boat, right?
What?
Dream. Gonna be ensnared down. Does have a blink to be able to jump over to the Witch Doctor, so should be fine, but still takes a decent amount of harassment, and that's just going to continue. You can see a CS really suffering here, but so is the Leshrac. They're actually about the same area. In fact, all the cores pretty much matching each other, but now Vampire's going to show up. They already have the Maledict onto LeBron. LeBron trying to push that last bit of damage onto FNG. Does manage to get the kill before he dies. Now Ghostic with the Aphotic Shield can actually turn around on that Riki. Not scared because, after all, he's got that troll. That's one of the big scary things. Top lane, they're going to be able to get chains done onto the Pango once again, bringing him down underneath his tower and keeping the siege wagon alive. Bait is managing to get tower pressure on both the side lanes right now.
They're using the info very nicely on side of Bait. They make a move on the bottom lane. They instantly start playing aggressively on the top lane. They know Pango is alone. They get a kill. They pressure the tower. And they're going to even put some pressure on the bottom tower as well. Same thing happened when they killed the TA. They got a return kill on Riki.
That's going to be basically a bonus tower. It always feels good. When a safe lane, you're able to take that off lane tower before you start rotating around. It goes to show how far you've won your lane. And nice, an impale. Okay, no follow-up though. Pio a little bit out of mana there. And FNG, a Maledict with nothing to follow it up.
Witch Doctor, level 4, going with the aggressive build, 2 points, and Maledict 2 points in stun. Gives them a lot of kill potential. This Abaddon, like this is a core position 3 Abaddon that is having a really good time, 34 CS at the moment, and now you can be left alone since you're level 6.
LeBron trying to get a gank on this mid lane. Probably knows it's nice to get the information as well, right? Because of that combination you were talking about with the Kunkka, you can X marks a spot into boat plus, you know, 1 teleport or 1 support rotation. And you're very likely to be able to bring down that TA. So LeBron gets that information. TA goes back to farming the jungle. And all is well for Bait, who are currently up 1K net worth. And I'm pretty sure they're happy with the pace of this game right now, as eventually they can try and take that safe lane tower with the Leshrac, who's already made the rotation. They're going to try and bring down the Riki, who is not quite yet level 6. Will have to TP back, but mass rotations coming out. They don't want to lose their safe lane tower on top
I don't think
of this.
they're getting this kill.
They're going to try for it. Pio is going to take a good amount of damage, but there it is. Ghostic immediately takes off the stun with his ultimate, turns around, Aphotic shields up the Leshrac. Not even close to getting the kill, but maybe it is enough to save their tower.
Now they should put more pressure on the mid lane. They saw Riki TPing out, 2 TPs on the bottom lane. You can already see LeBron making a rotation on the mid. FNG.
He knows that there is no ultimate there for the Abaddon, but unfortunately FN couldn't get there fast enough. Here comes the Enchantress, as you were talking about, making that rotation. Once they see those heroes bottom lane, let's put in some damage on that tower. An Enchanted Creep. Very good at pressuring towers now that it hits so hard, thanks to Enchant adding damage to the neutral creeps. And Dream finally able to get his level 6.
40 seconds until the outpost and an extra siege creep. So I assume Bait just wants to pressure the bottom tower. They might even get it before because they have Abaddon who is level 6. has ulti up and ready. Same goes for Leshrac with the Edict. There's no way Gambit defends this tower.
Yeah, so they're going to take the safe lane tower. With the Siege Wagon spawning in 30 seconds, you probably just push in bottom lane and then rotate into mid, right?
Yeah. I mean, someone needs to be at the bottom lane to get the XP. Both supports are not that leveled. Witch Doctor is level 5. There was not much action happening. He got the 2 early kills, which did not give him a lot of XP. You would want to have one level 6 support at 10-minute mark with the tome, so you can start playing aggressively.
I think the real loser here for Gambit, and part of the reason they're getting run over so badly is I don't think that top lane should have gone as poorly as it did. And as a result, Arpengo being underleveled, losing his tower and such, means that they don't really have the team fight necessary to be able to stop this snowballing that's happening from Bait. Bait's just going to pick up more and more net worth off of getting the tower advantage, and that kind of space could also lead into an early Roshan if our Templar Assassin ends up going the Deso build first.
They lost the 1 tower on the top lane. They will lose bottom tower in the next 20 seconds, which will make a rotation to the mid lane, try to pressure the mid tower as well. Then the map opens up, and with that Deso build that you mentioned, they could easily take Roche. Deso plus Edict, pretty deadly for Roche, for buildings in general.
Since we did say that our TA is basically it is the hard carry of Bait, do you think that he is going to go for that Deso build? You want him to just go for that kind of greedier style that allows him to pump out damage and just leave the rest of the job?
Yeah, I feel like in this game, Deso into Blink Dagger is fine. You have a Baron to take care of you if you're caught in a bad spot.
So what does Gambit need to do to slow down this roll? Is it just all-inning on a team fight in mid lane?
Well, Kanka used 2 boats. They did not get anything out of that, so he needs to be like more active. I don't know if there was some kind of a communication problem with it at the bottom lane because there was no follow-up. But Bait, they feel a bit better, I would say, in this game because they are using all the info that the Gambit is giving them, showing them heroes on the lanes, and then they process that info, transition that into tower or a big kill.
I mean, there's a big difference. I'm just looking at the stage right now and just looking at the supports, right? There's a big difference in the power spikes of these supports, too. Right? You've got an Enchantress for LeBron, and you've got King R with the Nyx Assassin. Those heroes are plenty useful without their ultimates, right? A lot of their damage is intact without having their ultimates. Meanwhile, on the other side, you've got a Rubik and Witch Doctor, both of whom kind of really need their ultimates to be online when it comes to team fights. You need that Death Ward. You need the Spell Steal. You know, there are some easy grabs here. You've got Impale from the Nyx Assassin. A Photic Shield is amazing. And oftentimes a free steal because most of the bands aren't going to be spamming Mistcoil a whole lot. So
yeah, I don't think you want to steal anything from these 3 heroes like Lash, Ench, and the T8. It's really not effective on Rubik, so you are aiming for that Shield and Impale. These are the 2 most important spells that you want to steal.
So until they have that fact, I mean, right now the Rubik is level 5, the Witch Doctor level 5 as well. So they kind of need to get their ultimates there. Shotlo didn't have his Rolling Thunder until just now. As we head back into the game finally, we're going to see runes about to spawn. So Bait is going to try and invade into the jungle a little bit more. They already took that safe lane tower. LeBron gets low. Maledict will manage to finish him off here. They're not going to be able to take that outpost, but they should be able to get both the bounty runes down here in the bottom lane. Dream was already on the other side, though, and so things will be even on that front. But it's the towers that's the real loss for Gambit right now, and we'll see whether or not Bait tries to continue that role around the mid lane. Ghostic.
Shashlo is level 6, Rolling Thunder online, so they should use it and try to get a kill. He also went for kind of a greedy build, which I like in this game. He wants to be able to scale with just 1 Javelin.
They're going for the kill on FN. He doesn't have the boat up. He does have a Fairy Fire, and he's super tanky with all those stats. FNG will manage to intercept there. That cast bouncing around, slowing things down. They do manage to get the X on a King R, pulling him back into a Torrent, but no damage to follow that up. And yeah, sure enough, with the Siege Wagon push coming in,
keep alive.
They're going to do everything they can to keep that damage dealer alive. The tower's just going to be chipped away. You can see Ghostic's willing to take some shots. Finally, an Aphotic Shield is stolen, so it does make team fights significantly harder
Siege creep dies, they instantly TP to the lanes to farm up. Also, a lot of pressure put on the bottom lane. Someone needs to address that issue. What do you think about the build in Kunkka? Like, he's going straight into Heaven's Halberd against TA.
I think it feels good against TA for sure. I'm just wondering if they're going to be able to have enough to deal with this Leshrac, who's currently being hunted down by Shochlo. He does have a swashbuckle to finish her off. Big kill. An important one at that is it was a solo kill too, so he got a hefty bound of net worth for that.
Yeah, Kunkka right now is so tanky. 2,000 HP with that 2 Bracer, Power Treads, and Sange build.
They kind of need a pipe builder though. And if judging from Shochlo's build, it doesn't look like, I don't know, we'll see. Maybe he could go back for the pipe, but I would assume that he wants to be more of a damage dealer and build a Maelstrom. Diffuse a Blade is particularly good. As we already talked about, it's good against the Abaddon, but for Pango, it's particularly good against TA.
Yeah,
just instantly burning through her frags.
And your Rick is also going for the Fusel Blade. Having 2 of those, that feels good. But I think he should swap back to more like team fight-oriented build.
Okay.
After that 1 Javelin. You have enough damage, but getting a pipe, even a mech to mitigate some damage from Lash, extra armor against TA is going to always be good.
That smoke wraparound, thanks to the ward they laid down, they spotted that Leshrac and should be able to catch him here, leading off with the X, pulling him back in. 3 heroes on top of Leshrac, easy kill. Dream, meanwhile, is also going to be able to chase down Ghostic. Not quite enough to be able to force his ultimate. If he did, maybe they'd go for the tower dive. But as it is right now, they're just trying to control this part of the map.
Leshrac just died twice in a row.
Yeah,
that's going to slow him down.
That is really going to slow him down because he got all those towers. He got the net worth lead here. Now the River, they're going to lose a team fight as well, as Vampire does have another Phonic Shield to be able to put on himself. Ghostic keeps him slowed down, though, with the silence. Maybe FNG going for some body blocking, but a shot from the low ground. Finish him off. LeBron gets the kill, but now being controlled up. X, Rolling Thunder, bouncing back in. Does manage to hit the Abaddon, actually pops his ultimate. LeBron is going to be target, though, of all the hate from GAMBIT. They manage to bring him down first, now turning towards
a lot
Ghost.
of traps.
Plenty of traps around, so if GAMBIT extend a little bit too far, they will not be happy with the team fight that occurs. So instead, they back off. Just happy with the trade-off of support for support.
This Witch Doctor is doing God's work in team fights. That cask guaranteed him a kill, and look at him. FNG has Urn already, so there's gonna be some extra damage thrown in inside that Maledict, even though it can be dispelled with Abaddon's shield. But seems like Abaddon is playing extremely aggressive, oriented about taking care of himself more than just healing others.
Leads off, does manage to get the Vendetta hit into the Impale, setting up a kill on to Shochlo. Nicely done. I enjoy hearing the applause from the audience, just because I always want to know, like, who's the favorite of the CIS teams, you know? The fan favorite, anyway.
I know who's not, but I'm not gonna name any names.
Might be the team that's doing pretty well for themselves at this tournament.
Could
but
be.
You know, all's forgiven if you just win, Lacoste, and maybe that team.
Yeah, GAMBIT right now is doing a good job just putting the pressure on the lanes. Kunkka pushes the waves pretty fast. The bottom lane is always going to be pushed in for bait, but meanwhile on the top lane, Ricky took the tower, which I don't think should happen. It's a solo Ricky pushing, who does not have a Diffusal Blade yet, but it's getting close because of that extra gold from the tower.
Yeah, it's pretty important. The tier 2 items ready to be spawned, so both teams gonna farm some neutrals, see if they can get that special helping neutral item to increase their power spike. And
Siege creep approaching on a mid lane. They want to take this tier 1 tower on a mid lane. Deso is ready on TA and try to get a fight on mid. Transition that into Roche.
LeBron. He's going to take a decent amount of damage here from the swashbuckle. Managed to dodge 1 Rolling Thunder, bounces right back into it. Now it's just going to be chain hit over and over and over again. King R actually coming in to try and bail out his support, but this is turning into a very bad idea. Hits the Impale, but Vampire, big burst of damage as he stole the Vendetta from earlier. They just need a little bit more, and the Fate Bolt will do the trick. Double kill for him. That's going to be turning into quite a wealthy Rubik.
Ricky about to finish his Diffusal Blade, and this is where Gambit starts to play more aggressive. You have a carry who will gladly join fights, but he's also fine with just farming on the side lane. And they are keeping the tier 2 tower alive, but most importantly, they kept the tier 1 tower on mid alive.
You could see Gambit is really itemizing entirely for that TA, maybe in part because Pio just died a couple times in a row, so his game was so slowed down, but they're going for Greaves build over the pipe for Shachlo as well. So Greaves obviously a lot more focused on being able to protect against physical damage.
Oh, nice lift.
Ooh, the swashbuckle doesn't actually hit Pio there, and he's going to be saved by both the heal of the Enchantress and the Aphotic Shield.
Blind Torrent.
Torrent into boat, into a little bit more damage, and they do manage to burst him down even through that Aphotic Shield. Now Ghostic tries to get the silence onto Shachlo, but a stolen Aphotic Shield will cleanse that off pretty quickly, and now it's just going to be a run of whoever they can catch. First is going to be LeBron. He's done for a TP out for the Abaddon. Will get him out of dodge, but still. Great team fight for Gambit, 12-7, as they begin to turn things around. They have the better team fight, it seems. Now they've got Diffusal Blade. They feel confident taking it to bait anywhere they can.
Seems like Dendy does not want to participate in any fights until he gets a BKB. He did not go for a Blink Dagger. He wants to be able to have something against the Maledict, against the Mana Burn. There is a lot of control against the both, of course, and seems like they're not relying on Abaddon to actually deal with all this stuff. I want to see Pipe being built on Abaddon to mitigate the magical damage on Gambit's side.
Yeah, that should certainly help, as you basically just, like, your job is pretty simple as the Abaddon in this game. You've got two squishy, very glass cannon style cores. You just need to be able to find ways to stop the damage of Gambit as best you can. And FNG, well, Vampire does have that Aphotic Shield still stolen, so...
My apologies to Witch Doctor. The boy's doing good. I'm happy. But FNG took it first. And once again, my apologies. This hero seems very good.
Well, Witch Doctor graciously accepts your apologies, Lacoste. And I'm sure he's happy to be back in the meta.
Feels good,
He's not going to be happy. A casual net into an Impale, a nice chain stun on a Dream. Thought he could TP out, but apparently he's mistaken. BKB. I'm not sure that's really needed, but it's popped anyway and does manage to get the kill onto the Riki. Now they're going to try for more as Vampire, Torrent, and Boat intercepting and allowing excess Vampire to be able to get out of there, at least for the moment, but still slowed down by another TA trap. Shachlo, Rolling Thunder. This is a good opportunity to be able to get some chain stun, especially with the BKB still down on Dendy. He decided to pop that for a Riki kill, and now he's been stunned 3 different times. That Swashbuckle doing so much damage, sure, but Gambit needs to be able to follow it up with a little bit more, and without their Riki, they don't feel comfortable taking that engagement. I think
Important damage dealer right now. I mean, Boat is their damage as well.
no team fight. So Gambit to the jungle for now. 20 minutes. So being so aggressive like that, basically the sacrifice to get Dream out of there, but Dream and Shots, though, are not going to go down without a fight. Ghostic hiding away from that rolling Thunder trying to get around into the river, and he's going to be good. Nicely played by Ghostic.
This stolen aphotic shield is doing so much work getting rid of the dust, the clumsy net, the trap slow.
Yeah, they pretty much always have to have sentries for these fights if they want to be able to kill Dream. Always a hard game playing a bad into Rubik because
and the range is pretty garbage right now.
well, you still got mana problems. On a Denny, any chain stun? No. They'll have a basher on that Reek. Yeah, is that really needed when you already have a Photic Shield? Have it on X as Vampire at this point.
Stats. Of course, you can get rid of...
Like, it's not a bad item by any means. Ended him going for, like, the Battle Fury build. About this Leshrac in his game because won your lane, killed the them apart. Now LeBron's going to be caught in his way. The Gambit are the ones who have the Aegis right now. I think you're pretty happy with a repair kit. But Pio, probably not too happy with being gone on. Over and over again, he's going to pop his BKB and see if he can turn this around, but he's taking so much physical damage from this Riki. Somebody's got to save him. Where's Ghostic? A Eagle Scepter goes on, but it's not fast enough. Too much damage from the Swashbuckle, plus the Riki hits. And now, Bait have lost their big team fight core once again, and they may just have to say goodbye to this tier 2 mid.
They don't have any long cooldowns. That's a good thing for Bait right now because they can keep fighting, but they need their heroes to be alive. This Leshrac is dying way too much.
It really is. I have to wonder, like, is he not playing enough with his Abaddon? Is, like...
Who do you blame? Like, if you're Lash, you're definitely blaming Abaddon. Like, where you at, bro?
Yeah. But as a team, Yeah. Who is it? Who, if you're looking at this, who do you think's at fault? Because I definitely feel like Pio's not respecting the physical damage that's coming from Gambit. Like, he's just charging in there, like, even before, he was taking a good amount of damage, but then he gets his BKB, and it looked like he thought he was invulnerable at all times.
Abaddon is not as speedy as Lash. They both have a horse, but seems like Lash horse is more amazing.
A little bit of a slower horse.
Yeah.
Being undead and all, you know, you're missing certain vital joints. Well, 3,000 net worth lead for Gambit right now. And that was Halberd into AC, into BKB, I think, for a couple.
Yeah.
Look at that damage, man. Bad, and eventually his ultimate's going to pop here, but nobody's
now
nearby,
what?
so they could just keep chasing forever. FNG even making sure to cut him off with the spider legs, climbing up the hill there.
So right now, Bait in a really bad spot. Gambit wants to keep playing aggressive, use another smoke. And TA, she's not a hero that wants to play from behind, especially if you take the Roche from her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so hard to itemize. Like, I see Butterfly queued up for Dendi. Like, even if you get any item, it feels like Gambit right now is just staying one step ahead.
Yeah. I don't know. It's, okay. Ooh, that's a double damage. Jesus. Yule Scepter. That's going to be able to take away that DD, but seeing as they already used their Impale, they don't have quite enough chain stuns to maybe turn around on that Riki, nor do they really want to. After all, he's got an Aegis. That's why Dream's playing so aggressively right now, daring Bait to try and...
Different town, because you always have... Okay.
Well, he was a little bit slow in casting the Meteor Hammer, for sure. But, yeah.
You should always have time when you go for talent to actually drop it.
Net into Impale, and the silence goes off just in time. Shots, though, actually gets it cleansed, though, from the Avadic Shield that is always on excess. Vampire, and is going to be able to just roll on through. And now Paralyzes Cat's going to be able to bounce over to the Nyx Assassin, who's stuck right now. As is the Abaddon underneath the smoke screen. Dream just doing far too much damage. Yule Scepter to be able to dodge Torrent, but won't have anything to dodge the damage. So just floods in from Gambit every single time they catch one hero a little bit out of position. Gambit just rolls on in, takes the team fight, wins it, and is now going to go for the high ground. You know, not taking the right team fights, whether it's not doing the right objective.
Either a kill on Lash, either a kill Witch Doctor, man, he looked like the best hero.
I don't know, man. It almost feels like they just don't have that strong leadership, that strong unified vision of how to be able to play this game when we've got, Dendi off, free farming in the jungle, but the other four, like especially Pio, like aggressively playing on the map and getting caught.
Like inexperienced player. You can see this from his play. A lot to learn. He got caught way too many times. I think him and Abaddon, maybe Abaddon should have sacked a little bit more of his farm just to help out the team. Like either be behind the Lash or behind the TA so they can get that counter initiation with the Aphotic Shield. Also, Rubik played amazing every single time. Aphotic Shield stolen. I mean, it's not that hard. We would have discussed about it, but still, it's your primary target.
Yeah. They, GAMBIT just as a whole were able to come back from a little bit of a rough laning phase and close it out in this best of one.
Yes, thank you very much indeed, Lacoste and Cap. Let's break that best of one down. It was, we started this game off. Lizard, you said if at least Dendi gets a lot of freedom, a lot of space created for him on a Templar Assassin, there's a good chance for Bait to make a run for it and take this game away from GAMBIT.
I think Dendi was the shining star of that team, of that organization so far. In this best of one, he did pretty much everything right. He farmed well. Yeah, the laning stage, he was up against Kunkka. He didn't really win it. You don't really dominate Kunkka that hard. And also he got rotated on a couple of times, Witch Doctor rotating in very well. But I don't think it was only Dendi. I think this team lacked plan. I was talking with Gods in the backstage. Like they just lacked a clear plan of what they were supposed to be doing. These two supports of Bait, like every action that they did in the mid game wasn't really giving them anything.
Was that the heroes, Gods, or was that just the way they played? Because they had the Nyx Assassin Enchantress. Was that not enough to make something happen?
I think it's more how they played. They looked a bit lost with just their rotations. I think Leshrac had a similar problem where just didn't quite know where to go, was going in the Radiant jungle, getting solo killed by a Pangolier. And yeah, they just didn't seem to be on the same page as each other. The Abaddon, who had a really good lane, got this super fast Vlads, was playing in the top lane. And it just felt like those four needed to group up and play together. That was kind of, to me, it's like create space for Dendi, but it's not just about creating space. They need to achieve something. They take objectives, open up the map. Like, if they come teamfight you as 4, maybe Dendi's pushing some other lane, getting an advantage out of it. It just didn't feel like they were on the same page at all.
Yeah, there are different ways of getting space, right?
Yeah.
One is pressuring their side of the map, trying to take their objectives, and the other one is just feeding on your side of the map. And they didn't really feed on their side of the map, but they still did feed. Like as God said, you have to play around this Abaddon, or he has to be playing around you. You can't have Leshrac trying to make moves on one side of the map when your most farmed hero and the hero that's most active at that minute, Abaddon, is just solo out pushing. For what? You should be protecting each other.
At the same time, maybe had the easier role, which is to To sit back, farm your item timings. The time he came online, everything had fallen apart.
A little bit lost. Bait, you can consider them for a team that is against each other later today. That will be up against Virtus Pro. So yeah, they are on Virtus Pro side of the bracket. You can even see it just like that.
That's fun. I think this game, where they struggled was just the early game. They didn't have the best laning stage, and they had to kind of play from behind. I think the draft was actually pretty good from Bait, but ultimately, yeah, Gambit, I think, showed they can play from behind and pull things together.
I just feel they had a much more clearer path. Their two supports did way a lot than the supports of Bait. In the laning stage, yeah, King R and LeBron did well. The laning stage went so poorly for Ricky Dream. He had less farm than Shaco after it. So he was really suffering. But it still didn't matter because you have these two supports that actually do know what they're supposed to be doing on the map, and that's mostly because of FNG.
Yeah.
That guy just controls the game really well.
How many kills he was in? He was in 24 of these kills. He's everywhere. He was rotating mid. He's leading this team and understands how to call the shots, and it feels like, you know, Dendy's the leader of his team, but his role in game is to be a mid who just farms up his items. The two supports, they need to step up and make calls and make plays.
This is a really good point as well. I think it's much easier to lead your team if you're the playmaker. If you're the TA that's supposed to be farming on your side of the map, you're just like, okay, guys, you just go do that, you know, your thing, and I'll farm.
But it's very hard to micromanage from that position because you need all your attention for your own gameplay, right? And
exactly.
Yeah, if you're more involved with the movements, you have an easier time.
Let's say you're the Leshrac. It's much easier to make these. Build me, the two of you go ward. It's much clearer than when you're just farming and you don't even know what your other cores have, what items they've got, what levels. It's not as easy. It isn't as clear, at least.
Is that like something like growing pains for Bait, or is that like, because obviously we don't know what's happening in their communications and we can't really make too many claims regarding that. That's just the way we saw the game, right? That's growing pains. Like you can learn how to communicate, or do you already have to have these vocal players?
It might be a personnel issue where, I mean, they have this young, inexperienced carry player who's kind of new. If he's playing the Leshrac, if you want the Leshrac making calls, and then I think both the two supports, King R and LeBron, are not really captain-style players, maybe, or at least not proven ones. And to me, it's a personnel issue.
Aggressive mode, Enigma coming right up.